I'm going to take my notepad with me because we're going to talk about another story. I'm literally going to turn the direction of the studio over here. The next story we're going to talk about, the fate of the president's economic agenda. It passed the House. It's now heading to the Senate. I want to bring in Kevin Brady, who not so long ago was chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. He no longer is, but I can call you Mr. Chairman because I just do that out of force of habit. It's great to have you with us,
Good to
Kevin.
see you, Major. Thanks.
Talk to my audience about what House Republicans already know about the Senate process. They're not going into this blind. They know the Senate's going to rewrite the economic bill. What kind of changes are the Senate Republicans likely to make that House Republicans have already decided they can live with?
So I think, first, the House has been preparing. They spent all of last year. They have a lot of new members since 2017, so they've been laying the groundwork on not just tax policy and spending policy, but how does the Senate reconciliation process work? It's very complex, new, foreign to most people, and so they've laid that foundation. So I think they know that sort of the three major buckets of this whole bill, which would be the permanency of the Trump tax cuts from 2017,
right,
the about $1 trillion of new tax provisions the president,
campaigned on?
Yeah, campaigned and championed on the campaign trail, and then how you pay for it. So those are sort of the three set areas. And the Senate obviously, has their own process, but they have their own opinions too. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to want, on the tax policy, they're going to want to make some tweaks there. Certainly on the president, I think there's a lot of consensus on the president's campaign provisions there, sort of how they're designed.
No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and
autos,
break on Social Security.
Yeah, and then the SALT provision, which
right,
of course he did as well. So, there's going to be some discussion on the SALT side
that state and local tax is not a seasoning.
Yeah, it is not but it's spicy during tax reform, and so they'll have those conversations there. And then finally, I think on how you pay for it, the House, as you know, sort of like two rock climbers, they tethered savings cuts to tax cuts, and as one got bigger, the other could get bigger. In the Senate, they're using a different way of how they budget over there, and so there'll be a lot of conversation, I think, about those savings cuts and the policies that go with them.
And there is no doubt in your mind the Senate will pass its version.
Yeah, no. I
Even though there are some people like Ron Johnson and Rand Paul and maybe Josh Hawley who are making noises that they are not yet on board, ultimately they're going to get on board.
I think at the end of the day, the prospect of $4.5 trillion of tax hikes, and the impact that will have on the economy.
Doing nothing, in other words.
Doing nothing has real consequence economically, and the opportunity to make some reforms that are long overdue. On the spending side, we are, as a government, 40% bigger than we were just 4 years ago. It's just been a huge explosion in the size of government. So the opportunity to actually bend that curve, for the future is I will just tell you, you don't see those very often in Congress. So grab every chance you get.
There's a lot of conversation, Kevin, about debt and deficits.
Yeah.
And I know you've had in the past, and many Republicans do, issues with the scoring from the Congressional Budget Office. Let's set them aside for a second. Penn Wharton has a budget model. It does dynamic scoring. And it has dynamically scored, meaning take into account the likely economic consequences of legislation. On their static scoring, not taking in the economic consequences, they project this will add $2.8 trillion in deficit spending to the debt. So that's over 10 years. Under dynamic scoring, taking in the economic consequences of the very provisions in this bill, they say it'll add $3.2 trillion because those on the lower end, deprived of either food assistance or Medicaid, will work less so they can qualify, and those at the high end getting a lot of benefits will work less because they don't need to work as hard anymore. Evaluate the debt and deficit implications of this legislation.
So one, I'm a big fan of the Penn Wharton model, by the way. I took a look at the study. They looked out 30 years, almost life cycle. It is hard to predict, the impacts
but these are
behavior over
numbers.
that time. True. But I will tell you, in 2017, creating those same incentives, including some reforms on integrity and Social Security, actually drove people back into the workforce because they were being rewarded, from a tax standpoint for getting out of that house, because not only were there more jobs, paychecks were rising faster than inflation the first 3 years after Tax Cuts and Jobs Act at a record level. So people were getting ahead more each month, rewarded for re-engaging the workforce. And my gut is by preserving those incentives we have today, and they added a few more, I think that could be helpful. I think we'll see the opposite.
You really do.
I do. I think you'll see more people, as we did in we moved 6 million people out of poverty almost in the first 2 years.
You said you have respect for Penn Wharton. They also did a distributional analysis. And they said for those in the lowest 10%, they'll lose $820 a year. Those in the top percent will gain more than 70% of the distributional value of the tax cuts. Why is that a good idea for where the U.S. economy is now, and so much concern about those trying to get in the middle class being unable to do so? Why is this a good idea?
So I'm not as certain about those projections in that study, perhaps, as they are from the standpoint, again, they looked out life cycle. Those who don't pay taxes won't receive tax benefits, which is accurate and probably the right policy.
And suffer some
reductions. We exempted them for some. But you look at the reductions, I looked at that as well. Look, the cuts that are being made is just merely slowing growth. Like Medicaid is growing $1.5 trillion, and the reforms that are being made are those who aren't eligible by law, improper payments that aren't eligible by law, those who are here undocumented who should not be on it, and some payment reforms, including reforms to get able-bodied people without dependents back to work. Those are very, I think, both modest and fair reforms. So I could not find that link between those reforms and the loss of coverage. But the point of why you do this is because growth matters. It matters for deficits, it matters for paychecks and jobs. We're in a very competitive world. And so from that standpoint, again, the worst thing they could do, I think, is to allow those tax cuts to expire.
Let's talk about Medicaid ever so briefly. You talked about work requirements for those who are adults. Just in your state, Texas, only 12% of Medicaid recipients are adults. 20% are over 65, 39% are disabled. So is there that much savings that can be accrued from adults? And of those 12%, 68% are working in Texas, either full-time or part-time.
So the short answer is yes. If you look at the scoring numbers from Joint Committee on Taxation, Congressional Budget Office, those work requirements create real savings, mainly because for the most part, rather than work to be eligible, they work to get off Medicaid. In fact, we know the surest way out of poverty is a job with a rising paycheck. And so, yeah, the number there, Major, so I think surprised all of us because of that incentive. Again, rewarding work.
Kevin Brady, pleasure, sir.
Good
Thanks
to
so
see
much.
you, Major.
Appreciate it.